Okay, so now we've poured our liquid into our jar. It's cooled down to room temperature now. It doesn't matter if it's still a bit warm, as long as it's not boiling hot, you'll be fine to do it. And then all we have to do now in this step is we're going to add our SCOBY to the top. And don't freak out if it sinks or if it floats or if it goes on the side, that's fine. And you just need half a cup of pre-made kombucha liquid as well. So I'll just pour that in. So you always need to make sure you've got that liquid, because that's going to help, it's like the starter culture, so it's going to help the fermentation process grow, kick off. Then we're just going to simply cover it with a cloth. Make sure I just use like a chucks cloth, but you can use a muslin or a tea towel or something loose, as long as it's breathable. And then we're going to stick an elastic band around the top, and then we're just going to leave this out on the bench or in the pantry somewhere at room temperature. And it's going to sit there for a week. Sometimes it might take 6 days, sometimes it might take a bit longer. It just depends on your climate. If you're living in a really cold climate, like lots of my friends are, then a great idea is to store it in the warmest part of your house. So I know friends who store theirs in their laundry, because that's a warmer area in their house. If it's too cold where you're living, it probably won't work, because you do need it to be around the 25-degree mark in your house. So if you've got heating and things on during winter, it should be fine. Otherwise, make sure it's somewhere warm. And then we're going to leave it for a week, and then we're going to come back and we'll check this and see what happens 1 week later. So it's been a week later, so now our kombucha SCOBY is ready to harvest, and we're ready to use our kombucha. So it's really simple, this step. You can see at the top here, I've got a new baby SCOBY has formed, and there was the mother SCOBY. I don't even know if you can see it, it's floating around. Oh, there it is. On its side at the bottom. Sometimes they stick together, sometimes they go down the side. It doesn't really make any difference, it still works. And you can know, some people aren't sure to know if there's kombucha's ready, so one way to check is to see if the baby has formed. If that's formed, generally it's ready, but the other best way probably is to taste it. If it still tastes like that sugary tea, then it hasn't fermented enough, and that might depend on if you're in a cold climate, it might take a bit longer, whereas I live in quite a warm climate, so mine normally takes about 6 days and it's ready to harvest. But it's okay to leave it for a bit longer too. You really have to try hard to stuff it up. It's very easy to do, and it's if you forget about it, it will still be fine. It just might mean it might be a bit more acidic. So the longer you leave it to ferment, the more acidic it will get, and the more sugar will be taken, I suppose, absorbed by that baby SCOBY. So really, really simple. So we're going to separate the SCOBYs now. So we'll grab out the baby. Now just bear in mind that your SCOBY does not like metal. So don't use, if you don't want to touch it, which some people don't at first. I know I was a bit grossed out at the beginning, but now I don't even think about it. But you can use plastic tongs or a wooden spoon or something if you don't want to touch it, but it's easy just to use your hands. So we've got the baby, it's quite a big one. And then we've got the mother down here, which you can see. And the mother, you can see here, my mother SCOBY, it wasn't even a hole, you know, there's holes in it and it's a bit ripped, that's fine. It doesn't matter. I've made a new batch with just like a shred of a SCOBY that's come off, and it's produced a new baby perfectly fine. So don't worry too much if you accidentally rip your SCOBY and get a hole in it. Now you also need to put half a litre of pre-made kombucha per SCOBY for your next batch. So I've got a half a cup measuring cup here, so I'm just going to scoop out, I've got 2 SCOBYs in there, so I'll put a cup of pre-made kombucha. And now, the rest of this kombucha right now is ready for me to drink. So I can either choose to keep it like this plain, which is really nice to drink as well. And I was only making plain for a while because I was too scared to try adding flavours to it. But then I realised it's actually really easy. So I'm going to show you now how you can do your second ferment. So if you wanted to keep it plain, you could just pop the lid on or pour it into a smaller jar or a bottle and put that in your fridge now, so the fermentation process stops or slows right down. You'll still slightly ferment, but very, very, very slow. But we need the lid on once it's ready. But to do our second ferment, it's really easy. Now I've got a whole range of different flavours that I try. Things like berries, lemongrass and ginger, lime and mint, chai spices, cinnamon and apple, or, you know, the list goes on, and you're really restricted by your imagination. But it's a great time to experiment with different flavour combinations or try new things. If you've got different things in season, you can. I'm just going to make a really simple one today, which is ginger. So what I've done is I've already sliced up some ginger. Now, it's organic ginger, so I've left the skin on. You don't have to worry about that. You're not going to actually be eating ginger after. But if you don't have organic, I would peel that first, just so you're not getting all the toxins and stuff in there. So just loosely slice it up. Now, I like to do my second ferment often in a bottle, because that's the bottle I'm going to store it in. Or I can just leave it straight like this. So for today, I might just leave it straight like this. So all we do for our second ferment is we chuck in a handful of whatever we're flavouring it with, just as wholes. You don't have to, you know, puree or anything like that. Then we're going to put the lid on this time. So lid off for the first ferment, lid on for the second ferment, and then I'm going to keep this out again at room temperature for a couple more days, so 2 or 3 more days. You can just sit out in your pantry or on your bench. Now, once that has finished fermenting, all you're going to do is drain off the ginger or whatever you've used for your second ferment, then put the lid back on and put it in your fridge. So it should be a beautiful liquid ready to drink, and then you can drink it as you please. So hopefully that's easy for you. If you do have any questions, please comment on this post or send me an email at louisa@happinessstartshere.com.au, and I'm happy to help you out with all of your kombucha questions.